Hello, hello, Kathy here from Spectral Web Services. I wanted to show you another one of our cool Spectral Web Services tools. Check us out at tools.spectralwebservices.com. Several really cool things coming, including an Apple News integration. But today, I wanted to show you one of the very first tools that never got a video, which is a newsletter automations feature. Um, and so this is a feature that you might use if you publish, multiple articles a week, but you want to send a weekly roundup, or maybe you're a busy newsroom and you want to send a daily roundup, whichever. One of the features that lots of folks feel is missing from Ghost is the ability to sort of send a digest email. It's what did we publish today? And so if that's something that you've been missing in Ghost, check this out. Huge time saver compared to copy and paste. So let's just go ahead and get started here. Um, you'll start out from tools and just pick the newsletter automations. If you're not seeing the button, it's because you're not logged in. Look for the get started button. The newsletter automations are free to generate drafts. My current plan is that the nightly automation is probably going to be a paid feature, but everything is free this month. Go try it out. I welcome your feedback. We squashed a really good bug yesterday that shouldn't have been there. And I'd love to hear about where else it's not meeting your needs, either because I still have a bug, or just there's some way you do newsletters that I'm not currently making work. So let me know. All right. And with that, let's just get on in here. And we'll go ahead and click New Automation. You won't see any automations when you first get here. But we'll go ahead and we'll click New Automation. And sure, we'll call this our weekly digest. Can also make a daily digest, whatever is good. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill out our various newsletter settings. Everything does save, so even if you're generating a draft manually by hitting the button, you only have to fill this stuff in once, okay? So bear with me. Give your newsletter a name like Weekly Digest for, and then I have one variable substitution, which is today, that'll get you the date. If there are other substitutions that would be useful for you, please do let me know. Today was the only thing I sort of thought, oh yeah, I want that, but maybe you want something else. Um, if you'd like to have a custom excerpt attached to this newsletter, then you could go ahead and do that. All the news from the week of, hmm, I'm typing it and I'm wondering whether you need the ability to say yesterday or last week or something in substitution too. Um, this is here, we're still sort of setting up what's our actual newsletter, the ghost post that goes out gonna look like. Um, and so here we have choices. We can say no featured image. We can say to use the first post's image if it has one. Or if like you always have some image you want to be at the top, you can stash it over in a ghost page and just say this is the generic one that we're always going to use. Okay. Um, and then we can also set what's the access for this post going to be, public, members only, paid members only. If you want specific tiers and you check it, it'll actually go and read what are your tiers and you can choose from those. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll say that this one's going to be public. Do watch out if you're emailing it and you have a mismatch between what your post access is and um, who you're sending it to, you can end up accidentally sending the full content. Okay. If we hit save, let's go ahead and do that. And then this is the button that would fire the newsletter, but we haven't configured it yet. So let's do that. We have options for scheduling. You can schedule weekly or monthly. So for example, if you want to send a daily newsletter, 7 days a week, check all the buttons. If you want to send the wrap up weekly newsletter every Friday, there you go. You can pick your time that your newsletter goes out. Maybe mine goes out at 5 p.m. on Friday, sort of a TGIF kind of thing. Okay. Um, and then when that automation runs, what do you do? If you've hit the draft button, you'll only get a draft. But if the automation is running by itself, you can choose, is it a draft? Is it publish? Publish an email, email only, what's it doing? Okay. So go ahead and you'll make whatever choice seems to make sense there. And now we get into the meat of it. What goes in this newsletter? So we can add one or more content sections. Let's go ahead and let's add one. Um, you're going to give it a name. The name may or may not display depending on what you choose, but you want to give it a name sort of for your own benefit anyway. So let's call this sort of introductory material. If you always lead off your newsletter with, "Hey, good to see you. Thanks for reading the newsletter," you can just write that once. And so that type would be a static content and just pull the body of a ghost page. Okay. And you'd give it the newsletter and you'd give it the slug. So maybe you have a little work to do over here on Ghost. We'll call it newsletter top matter or something like that. Okay, and you'd want to make sure that that exists over on Ghost. I don't think I'm currently validating for whether that exists, but I should. Another good feature here, you can check this box to say it's required. That means if it doesn't exist, the newsletter won't go. We don't really want to send people empty newsletters. So check that required box for anything that's really the meat of the newsletter, where for some reason it's not available, you want to fail sending the newsletter instead. Okay? So there's my first section that would grab whatever I had in this newsletter top matter section. Okay. And then let's add another section and we'll call this one latest posts or latest news maybe. And this one we are in fact going to put a label on it. So I'm going to check that I want it to be a large label. Okay. And then we'll say our type this time is recent posts. Okay. And then for recent posts, we have a ton of options and you'll kind of need to play with them. But in terms of what do you want for that post to look like? Your posts can go out as bookmark cards. They can go out as sort of featured image, title, excerpt. They could go out as product cards. Product cards actually make pretty good post summaries. You have lots of options here. So those are sorts of things to play with. You probably want to link to the articles so that readers come back to your page, unless you're sending full content. You could, in fact, send them everything in an email. I have one client who sends every day the full content of everything she's published that day. It's a really big newsletter. But you have lots of options here. So, sort of experiment with that and figure out what you like. You're going to say, are we sending featured content, not featured content, or both? Okay. Um, Pick a date mode here, like how many days of content do you want? If you send a weekly newsletter, you probably want 7. You could also put a limit on it. You have the option to include draft posts. Usually that's not something I want, but it could be. Maybe the content is scheduled to publish at the same time, but it's not published at the time you're generating the draft. I don't know. You have options. And then 2 super important things here. You have a required tags and an excluded tags section. I recommend that up here in your tags, that you always apply some tag like newsletter, which apparently I don't have here. What do we have we could use? All right, well, my preference here would, I'm going to use this import tag just to have some tag to put on it. Um, put some tag every time you generate a newsletter. And then down here, you really want to make sure that you're excluding that tag. This stops you from accidentally sending an excerpt of your newsletter in your next newsletter. Okay, so something that designates this is my newsletter is a good idea. Okay, you could also require some tags. Maybe you only send certain articles out in this digest. If you'd like to send multiple of these sections, you certainly can. Maybe you lead off with your featured articles and it's a more detailed summary, and then you have a bunch of bookmark cards for your other articles, for instance. You could do all of that. If I have missed something in terms of some way that you like to organize your content for your digest, please let me know. I am very interested to hear about what your needs and wants are that I haven't captured in these options. So I'm going to go with just the summary, which is going to be our title, featured image, and excerpt, and it's going to have a link. And I'm going to get, I think I will do all matching posts, but I'll say I just want 5 of them because there's been a lot of stuff. This is my demo site and it's a mess. Okay. When you're happy with it, hit Save Settings. Certainly, before you automate it and turn your back on it, you should send a draft to Ghost. Let's do that now. It'll think for a little bit. It's got to read all those posts and then it's got to pass them all back to Ghost as one big post. So it's letting me know here that it didn't find any introductory material, so it skipped that section. It's a good warning. That'd be if I wanted that to be in my newsletter. I would need to go fix that. And let's just go ahead and click that view in Ghost. That'll take us right into the editor. And we can see what we've got here. Let's talk permissions. If you've got an API key in your site settings, an admin API key, you can do all of this, including the scheduling. If you prefer to just be able to save drafts, you could actually do it with a contributor staff token if you want to give fewer permissions. That'll do everything except put tags on or publish. So there's some options there. So here we are, we're looking at it in the editor. Of course, it may look a little bit different when published, but you can see here's my digest. My excerpt came in. And then in my latest news section, my latest news is strange today, but you can see that we have an article for each of our latest news items. Yes, I did use that image twice. Okay. And so that's sort of our basic gist. And then this could go out as scheduled, or I could look at it in draft mode, edit it, and so on. If you're looking at that and you're going, oh, those images are huge, that is not what I had in mind. That's cool. Let's just switch what section we do here. And maybe you'd like something a little bit more minimalist. So let's switch it over to using our, we'll do bookmark cards. Bookmark cards are kind of fun. There's also a bulleted list that's, just title and excerpt for each one. And once again, let's go ahead and click Save Draft. And we'll go ahead and view it over in Ghost. And so here you go. You can get a bookmark card for everything that meets whatever criteria you set. And that's all there is to it. Try it out. Save some time. Hope it's great. So come find it at tools.spectralwebservices.com and have a great one.